Okay, so I finished closing in the face of the front of this cylinder. I just went around the edge and did the same thing I was doing. I should have probably mentioned that after selecting this vertex, I'm just hitting the P key to create that poly. So in here, I'm just going to select this edge loop, and I'm going to hit the P key again to close that guy up. And I'm going to need a bevel here, so I'll just go ahead and add that in. Okay, so we're getting close. It's if I subpatch this, it's getting lumpy. It's starting to take the shape though. I am going to go ahead in the back here. Well, let's not do that yet. Okay, so next up we need to start making these, I don't really know if there's a technical name for these indentations in a cylinder on a gun, but I'm sure somebody could enlighten me. Whatever these things are called, we're going to start hardening up these edges here so they'll hold their shape a little bit better. And let's see, I believe I may have used a little bit of edge weighting on this. I don't think I used much though. Go to vertex map, shading view, and looks like I used a tiny bit there, but I know I've got a loop in there in the geometry that's actually holding the shape more so than this edge weight. So back over here, let's see. First thing we're going to do is select the front face here, and then I'm going to select the bounding edge loop around that guy. I'm going to use the slide tool, and I'm going to set it to distance and duplicate, and I'm going to slide another edge out here, probably about a millimeter. Building an object like this, you'll probably, if you're going to try to maintain the edges at similar tolerances, you're probably going to want to remember that. I usually end up using a really round number like that so that as I build the model over the course of weeks or years, in the case of Bertie, I can always remember that number so I can hold edges at a similar tolerance. So throw that in there at a millimeter. You'll notice that front starting to get a little more defined now. So now that guy's there, it's going to make it easier to add a loop around here. I'm going to select those 6 edges, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab the slide tool and duplicate set on. I'm going to slide that down. This one I might go a little tighter. I'm going to go 500 micrometers and drop that, tab that, and that edge is starting to look much more refined now. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and make this back hold its shape as well. I'm just going to use the bevel tool, activate that, go millimeter on that inset, no shift, and same thing, we'll grab that edge loop, slide, millimeter. So now the back is nice and tight, and so that's allowing this to hold its shape much better than it was. You can see we need, it looks like we need another slice here. I'm going to go to a side view. I'm going to subpatch that. I'm going to grab a slice. Oh no. Go back to automatic action center. I'm going to put a slice right down here just until I get this curvature looking the way I want it to be. Drop that. I only think I need one there. And at this point, like I said on the I'll talk about edge weights at the end, but basically I think this edge wasn't quite as tight as I wanted it to be. I couldn't find an effective way to put a loop on the outside of this without creating some ugly n-gons out here. So my solution was to let's just do it now while we're talking about it. I went around this edge here. Ugh, I believe that was my selection. And just use the weight tool. It's I think Shift W, or maybe it's edge weight. Who knows? And 80 looks good. That's probably in there because I was practicing before I did this tutorial, so 80 is probably the value I used, and that looks much better to me. So yeah, if I can get away without doing weights, I'll usually try to do it all in geometry, but sometimes I do fall back on those, and that was one of those times. This is still a little round in here. We're going to fix that by, I think the way I fix that, grab this whole front and bevel, grouped, 1 millimeter, still set there. Jump in the pipeline here, easy way to do this, just hit apply, and that kind of screws up my edges there, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to activate this and maybe do like 250 micrometers, just so these guys don't cross, these vertices don't cross over each other. Drop that, tabby, starting to look good. Pay no attention to these, we haven't fixed those yet, but if you just look at this section here, it's starting to look pretty sweet. Boing. That's pretty much the process for those guys. I will pause again here and I'll run around and create those, and we'll come back and we'll talk about how I created these little indentated sections over here. Indentated is not a word, by the way, just so you know.